Hi guys, welcome to the Random Burrito where we talk about books, food, gaming, pop culture, and sometimes occult stuff. And if that sounds like your thing, please hit the like and subscribe button and click the bell notification so you'd know when we upload a new video or when we go live for live streaming. Alright, so today I'll give you guys a deck tour. I'll show you the Tarot, Oracle, Lenormand decks that I have bought and collected in my almost 1 year journey through cartomancy or card reading. And I'll start off with my tarot collection. Alright, starting things off, we have for my tarot collection the Golden Art Nouveau Tarot, distributed by Los Scarabeo, published by them as well. And this is not my first deck, it's just that I want to show you guys the basis for all other tarot decks. Since this is based off the Rider-Waite-Smith, the OG modern tarot deck, it basically has the same imagery. It's just that it's done in Art Nouveau style, and it has gold foil inlays. So we have the Fool, we have the High Priestess, right? So we have here next the Three of Cups. Okay, do you see the gold glittering? We have the Ten of Wands. We have the Ten of Cups. There. We have the Devil as well. There. So it's a standard size, and the backs could pass for reversibles. The cardstock, it's strong and pliable, maybe a bit on the thin-ish side. Let me just adjust the camera. Like there. Alright, so that's the Golden Art Nouveau deck. Pretty standard, just leveled up. And it does give this very expensive and exquisite feel to them. So whenever I'm doing reading or work for people who have already had a tarot reading, I tend to use this because they're already familiar with the symbolism, and especially if they're of a certain mindset wherein if it's not Rider-Waite-Smith looking, it's not legit. So yeah, this is the quote-unquote golden standard type of deck, Golden Art Nouveau Tarot. The imagery is very close. Or actually, it's actually the Rider-Waite-Smith imagery, just with a different art style, with gold. You know me, I'm a bit extra. So I'll be pulling out some of the cards from this deck regularly just to compare with the other decks. Now this is the first deck that I really ever bought. We have Ellen Dugan's Witch's Tarot, illustrated by Mark Evans. And this is a special deck because it is my first deck. And for many months, I've noticed a lot of tarot decks at Fully Booked, but none of them was really attractive to me. None of them really grabbed my attention. However, the moment I laid my eyes on this deck, it really felt right that I buy this deck. You know, when I first saw the image, took a look at the back, and then without spending more than 5 minutes, I went ahead and bought it right away. So just like in Harry Potter, wherein the wand chooses the wizard, in the tarot reading community, it's more of the deck chooses the person. So I feel like that's what happened with the Switch's Tarot. So it's my destiny purchase, so to speak. So it comes to this really tough box. It's magnetic. It has the symbol of the triple moon, the symbol of the goddess Hecate, the Greek goddess of witchcraft and magic. She's also one of the three lunar deities, the other two being Artemis and Selena, or Luna. And it comes with this really thick and detailed guidebook. So this guidebook has been the foundation of my tarot learnings. As you can see, it has detailed meanings, dissecting every image, every element of the card. Um, you have the keywords, you have the deities associated with it, astrological association. So when you study tarot, you need to learn a bit about astrology as well, because they're actually interlinked. When the Order of the Golden Dawn, the people behind putting occult symbolism in tarot, especially in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, they incorporated a lot of astrological elements into it. So your knowledge with tarot won't be complete without a bit of knowledge with astrology. So let's do a side-by-side comparison, maybe. So we have the Fool here, and this is the Fool. So basically, it's just a Rider-Waite-Smith copy. It's just that most of the symbolism in the Witch's Tarot is, instead of Judeo-Christian imagery, it replaces them with pagan or Wiccan imagery. Okay? Because Alan Dugan is a Wiccan high priestess. So that's why. And then we have the High Priestess. So these two pillars are pillars from the Temple of King Solomon. Boaz and Joachim, if I got it correctly. That's what the letters stand for. But here in the Witch's Tarot, you don't see Judeo-Christian imagery. As I've said, you have the waxing and waning moons on the side. So the Three of Cups, still retaining most of the imagery. We have the Ten of Wands. Person still looks overburdened. And then we have the Ten of Cups. And here's another difference. Since Wiccans or pagans don't necessarily believe in the Judeo-Christian idea of the devil, what they have here, this is Karma, and this is equivalent to the Justice card. And let me see if I can find their equivalent of the Devil card. Because it's called differently in this deck. It's not called the Devil, because again, as I've said, it's that they don't believe in the traditional devil. So there. So it's called the Shadow Side. Okay, there. So that's the Witch's Tarot by Alan Dugan, with a side-by-side comparison with the Golden Art Nouveau deck, which is also based from the Rider-Waite-Smith. Again, this is my first deck that I ever bought, the deck that started it all. I use it for face-to-face readings, which is quite rare these days. And when I'm reading for myself, this is what I also use. It has a very loving but very tough love kind of tone. So next deck that I bought was this. This is the Ostara Tarot. So speaking of Wiccan, Ostara is a Germanic or Wiccan pagan goddess of spring, dawn, and rebirth. So in this deck, you'll find very vibrant imagery. Ostara is also like the basis for the word Easter, which is the spring equinox. And this is created by Applejohn, Cook, Gibbard, and Iredale. They are 4 children's book illustrators and authors. And this would translate well to the imagery of the deck. They actually divided the major arcana among them, and each one of them is assigned to one specific suit. So, just get that. We have silver edging, which is really good. So silver provides protection. Um, they also mirror people's energy because silver, like the moon, is like a mirror. It's considered reflective. The backs are reversible, and the cardstock is a bit on the thicker side, and it's actually made of glossy paper. So when I first bought it, they stuck to each other, and I had to kind of break them apart. So let's compare some of the imagery, because the authors here really took some artistic liberties with the deck. So the Fool more or less gives you the same vibe. So let me just take out one card from each of the suits, okay? So that you can see the difference in art style, the similarities as well. So for the Pentacles, it's more like this. Kind of rough, sketchy, smudgy coloring, thin lines, as opposed to the Cups, well-defined lines. The color palette for the Cups is mostly this, and a lot of blues. For the Swords, we still get the pencil thin lines. Okay. But for the Wands, they're more vibrant, very dazzling, fitting for Wands, which is the element of fire. And then we have the High Priestess, alright? So again, you can see the artistic liberties they took. And there is a bit of similarity though, because you have here the pomegranate. And the backdrop here is actually a pomegranate. So it's a fruit that bears a lot of potential. So that's one of the definitions or interpretation for the High Priestess. The Three of Cups, so they look more like sinking rather than reuniting. The Ten of Wands, and lastly the Ten of Cups. Oh, we still have actually the Devil card there. Alright, so the Ostara deck has a special place in my practice because whenever I have clients who are new to tarot, like this is their first time getting a tarot reading, they're quite scared because they were taught to be scared by it, whether by religion or by popular culture. So, you know, to tone down the anxiety level, maybe, I use this deck because they look friendly, they look vibrant and approachable, they don't look intimidating, and that is the Ostara Tarot. I won't necessarily recommend that for beginners to the study because of the artistic liberties they took, but it does still come with a guidebook, so you could be guided as to what the meanings are. Up next, we have the Santa Muerte Tarot from the Book of the Dead. So it's very Book of the Dead, Pixar's Coco kind of imagery. So Santa Muerte, if you don't know, it's kind of a folk goddess revered by Mexicans, and they celebrate Dia de los Muertos along with everybody else's Halloween. It's a day to honor the dead, and you can see right off the bat, it's very skeleton-y. It's perfect for the upcoming Halloween season. And let's just play them side by side with the Rider-Waite-Smith. So we have the sun, the Fool card with the sun rays. High Priestess, looking very mystical. And this card I picked out because it is a celebration not just of Dia de los Muertos, but also of Mexican culture in general. So this is a luchador. We have strength. So normally this is like a woman taming a lion. So here we have a luchador, and I don't know what this is. Some probably some Aztec or Native Mayan beast. We have Justice. This is one of my favorite cards in this deck. She looks very menacing, but you know that she's fair, if a bit stern. We have the Star. And then we have the Empress. So when I'm looking for a deck, I tend to look at the Star card and the High Priestess card. Try to look at them and see if I am attracted to those cards, because those cards will more or less make or break my decision in buying the deck. So why that is, it's just a personal preference. So there are no edging here. It does have this beautiful reversible back. The cardstock is actually quite thick, like THICC thick, which I love. I don't riffle shuffle my cards. I know there are some who do. I just don't. It shortens the lifespan of the cards, and I don't treat. I mean, riffle shuffling is for cards at the casino. I don't treat my deck like that, so I don't do it. Comes through this very sturdy flip top box, and it did come with a guidebook, but I sent it over to Simon because I bought him a deck as well, because he likes skeletons. That's his thing. He likes skeletons, so I gifted one to him, and for some reason it didn't come with a guidebook, so I gave that to him for reference. Alright, next. So we are now departing from the Rider-Waite-Smith traditional system. What I have next here is the 7th Sphere Tarot de Marseille deck. So it comes with this quote: "What heaven dreams, the earth brings forth. You blaze in the sun, glimmer in the stars, and dance in the rhythm of creation." I love that quote that they made. So again, this is a magnetic, sturdy box. This is from labyrinthos.co. They are an indie card developer, and their decks are just the most expensive looking. They are actually quite pricey, and they are very high quality, for lack of a better term. Take a look at that back. Rose gold inlay, rose gold edging, matte finish. In fact, they feel like rose petals, and it has vector-based imagery. So there. And in case you've noticed, we have the Fool. There. So what's the difference between this Tarot de Marseille deck and the Rider-Waite-Smith deck? So take a look at the Ace of Cups, the 10 of Pentacles, the Minor Arcana from Aces to Tens. They are not unlike the other decks. You have humans, a scene depicting a scene related to its definition. But here, if it's a 7 of Swords, you just see 7. I'm sorry. If it's the 8 of Swords, you just see 8 swords. Alright? If it's 6 of Wands, you just get 6 Wands. So this is called a pip deck. And it really pushes the boundaries of your intuition, because you're guided with nothing but the image, the way they're laid out, your prior knowledge of tarot and numerology as well, maybe. But relatively speaking, it's not that detailed. They don't give you much, just the images and prior knowledge. And So you have to push the boundaries of your intuition to give the best interpretation and meaning to your client. And this has worked well for me, actually, especially when I'm working with querents who I feel are having or experiencing really tough situations in life, because they tend to give a very neutral tone. Sometimes, especially when you're doing tarot for quite some time, you'll notice that each deck has a tone to them. Some cards are very stern, and some cards are very loving and supportive. But this deck, they're very neutral. They come maybe a bit uncaring sometimes, but they give the hard truth. Okay, so this has worked well for me. It's fantastic so far. I love the edges so much. The feel of the paper, of the rose petal paper finish is really good. And it actually came with 2 extra cards. And those cards are open to interpretation. So I just placed them on my altar. All right. Up next, I think this is the last deck, last tarot deck. We have the Arcana Iris Sacra by Tina Gong. Tina Gong is the founder of Labyrinthos. I love this marbled look. Very tough box. And, if you just put it there, it could pass off as a book. It comes with this booklet or pamphlet. And this deck follows the Thoth deck convention. Thoth, like the Egyptian god of knowledge. It retains most of the imagery, but it's also a pip-ish deck. There are just some liberties or changes, actually. So instead of Judgment, we have the Aeon. The reason being is this one is created by a contemporary of A.E. Waite. So A.E. Waite is the person who commissioned the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot. This one is created by Aleister Crowley, who is a mystic opposite of A.E. Waite. They kind of butted heads over a lot of stuff. So it was interesting. I find it interesting to find out what difference they have in terms of interpretation, but turns out they're mostly the same. And we have here the different astrological associations. And the Fool is not like the person riding off into this new journey, but it's actually more of the primal energies surrounding humans. So the primal energy, the sun in the genital area represents the force of creation. So it's still called a Fool, but the meaning is kind of different in a sense. And then instead of Queen of Cups, you have Queen of Chalices. So this deck is called the Arcana Iris Sacra. It literally translates to Secrets of the Sacred Rainbow. And by Sacred Rainbow, we mean the different colors here. Color is the main way that this deck communicates. So the back, it's like this. We have the lotus and the lemniscate, both symbols of eternity and immortality. It could pass off as reversible, because you see this area here. It's good cardstock, very pliable, very nice for shuffling. So that's it for my tarot decks. I hope you enjoyed. And next we will do my tour for my oracle decks. So see you in a while. We'll be right back. Alright, continuing on, we have my oracle decks. So this is the first oracle deck that I bought. We have The Wisdom of Avalon Oracle Cards by Colette Baron Reed. And she is, this deck is published by Hay House, which I learned is an Australian company. So this contains a lot of Arthurian legend and Arthurian imagery. We have the Lady of the Lake. So these are the messengers of Avalon. These are characters, and each card has a bunch of keywords. And because of that, I just skimmed through the guidebook and I immediately got what they meant. The Merlin, the King, we have the Grail Knight, and then we have the Guides of Fairy. So in a lot of British, Gaelic, Welsh, Scottish, that area, in a lot of their myths and folklore, the fairy is an integral or a crucial part of their folklore. We even have the goblin, because a lot of the areas there are said to be places of dwelling for the fae, for the fairy. So that's why you have those. And then we have the animal messengers of Avalon, the dog, the cow. So each animal has a guide word, or some keywords to guide you. And lastly, we have the sacred markers, the journey markers. We have fear, partnership, so more or less like concepts or times or milestones in your journey. So what are oracle decks and how are they different from tarot decks? So oracle decks, they are mainly used for meditation, daily affirmation, and how I use them in my practice is when a client asks me a question, I use the tarot for the main answers, and then I ask the oracle deck additional insight or how we can achieve the goal that the current or the client asks. And oracle decks don't have a structure the way tarot does. It's more intuitive. Each deck is kind of tailored to a specific theme or a specific purpose. So there are decks that features angels. There are decks that feature love and relationship messages or readings. This one again is Arthurian themed, and I find that it's very multi-purpose. It's broad in scope because it's about everyone's journey. Physical, spiritual, psychological, emotional journey. And everyone is on that journey of sorts. And I find that this deck's cards really has helped a lot of people. Alright, next, let's go with this one. The Claves Astrologicae de Iris Sacra. Translation, Astrological Keys of the Sacred Rainbow by Tina Gong. Again, this is from the labyrinthos.co website. And I mentioned earlier that your knowledge for tarot would not be complete without knowledge with astrology. So this deck is good for when you're studying astrology. I'll show you. So that's the guide booklet. So we have the different zodiac signs. Alright, the different zodiac signs, all 12 of them. We have the different planets, or if you're a Greco-Roman pagan, the gods. So we have Mars, Uranus, Jupiter, Luna or the moon, and then Neptune. Okay, there. We have the heavenly bodies, the planets, the deities. We have the houses and what they represent. And then we have the different phases of the moon, including the eclipses, solar, lunar eclipse, different moon phases, and we have the Terra or the Earth card. So if you're starting out in astrology, you would be surprised to know that astrology is not just your sun sign or the star signs. It's a combination of the zodiac signs, the influence of the planets, and the areas in your life represented by the different houses. So what I do is I usually like combine the three of them. So let's say you have Mars in Libra in the second house. So Mars in Libra gives you like passive, aggressive kind of energy. Um, your main, because Mars is about what are your life's motivations, what are your regressions, what are the things that push you, all right? And Libra is about harmony and balance. So you have that strong urge to achieve balance almost aggressively. It's like, you know, trained for, what do they say? Trained for peace, trained with war? I don't know. But you kind of get it. It's war, peace and harmony, displaying in the second house, which is the house of value. So let's say you have a tendency to like do impulse buying. That's one way to interpret it. So as you can see, I'm not an expert in astrology by any shape or form, but I do try. I am still learning, and this deck kind of helped me as well. And this deck also helps answer the question that I get a lot from my clients. What kind of person will I meet in the future? So this deck is really helpful in answering those questions. But if you just want to study astrology more in depth, this is a deck that you could use or buy. Next, this is my last oracle deck. Actually, we have Carolyn Mice or Mies archetype cards distributed by Hay House. So let's get this thick deck out. THICC. So it does come with this guidebook. And Carolyn Miss is well read. She is well studied in the field of human psychology. And so it shows here in the deck. So there are a lot of archetypes here. The premise of this deck is that every person exhibits at least a few of these archetypes at a certain time, and each archetype has a light and shadow attribute. So let's say here, for the femme fatale, light attribute, the highlighting the energy of the feminine, highlighting, the deadly powers of a woman. The shadow attribute is the inappropriate use of sensuality, attachment to money, and power. So, each archetype has its own light and shadow attribute. So, let's take a look at this one, the martyr. Mga martyr dyan. This, I'm sure a lot can relate, so let's see. Its light attribute is learning the transcendent nature of service to oneself or a cause. So, you see your life's purpose as something beyond your own, You lend yourself useful to causes that are greater than you. Shadow attribute, addiction to self-pity. Oh, familiar. Alright, so we have the dilettante. We have the king. So, it's pretty thick, like 80 cards thick. The backs are gorgeous. The cardstock is really good. It's very thick as well. It does come, again, with a guidebook. And if you have additional archetypes that you can think of, they have blank ones here. Alright? So that's it for my oracle decks. So how do I use this? I typically split them into two. Take the top cards of each pile, and I would read them together. So let's give it a try for now. See, it's really thick. You can't shuffle them as one pile. So, tarot deck, can you give me a description of the general archetype of the people watching this video? Let's see. Let's see. And then I just take the top card from each. Beggar and artist. Oh, beggar confronts empowerment at the level of physical survival, awakens the spiritual authority of humility, compassion, and self-esteem. All right, so the beggar is more like the light attributes. It kind of reminds me of like Mahatma Gandhi, those type of figures. And shadow attribute, dependence on others to the exclusion of effort. So it means that you're not proactive at times. You just rely on the mercy of others. So, beggar. We have the artist, expressing a dimension of life that is just beyond the five senses, inspiring others to see life symbolically. Shadow attributes, using talent as an excuse to mistreat others, posing as the starving artist to elicit pity. Okay. So, some artists, they really push you to see the world differently, take a look at life with a different pair of eyes. But at the same time, they kind of like mock others who don't have artistic talent. So that's the message of the archetype for you beggar artists, starving artists out there, We're always looking for that artistic high, something that separates us from the convention of life. But yeah, that's basically it for the archetype cards. That's my Oracle collection. And stay tuned for my Lenormand decks. So last but not the least, we have these two very cute Lenormand decks. They are humble, but they are very powerful tools of fortune telling. So this is the Lenormand, Old Style Lenormand by Alexander Ray. It comes with a booklet guide. And the Lenormand deck, so what's the difference between a tarot deck and a Lenormand deck? First of all, the size. They should be small, or they're usually small. Unlike the Oracle deck, the Lenormand has a structure, okay? But unlike tarot, it doesn't depend heavily on details upon details and different layers of interpretation. If it's about a woman or a lady, it shows you a lady. If it's a dog, you should only see a dog here, okay? And when people use the regular playing cards for divination, they're most likely using the Lenormand style of fortune telling or divination. You see at the upper right, it's the correspondence to the playing cards. The book is the 10 of diamonds, clouds. We have the King of Spades. So you would see it there. And the Lenormand cards, they usually come with a lady and a man card looking at each other. This deck has an extra lady and man card for, reading same-sex couples and, in their efforts for diversity and inclusion, which is what I applaud. It's not necessary, but they do it anyway. Thank you so much, guys. So this one is the paper or the card looks like they're tea stained. The imagery very Victorian. The cardstock is good. It's sturdy. It feels like it's made of cardboard. And so unlike tarot, you can do one card pull per day of the tarot and come up with a multitude of messages, okay? But with Lenormand, you can't quite do that. It's because with Lenormand, you need to form a sentence. So you need a subject and a predicate, right? So let's say I get the scythe and the dog. Scythe is about swift, sudden endings, and the dog is about friendship. So this card could mean an end of friendship. And if it was reversed, then it would have a slightly different meaning. It would mean a friend and then sudden ending. So it could mean still end of friendship, or on a more morbid tone, a death of a friend. So that's basically what Lenormand is. I find it easier to learn. Like learning the basics for Lenormand is actually easier than learning the basics for tarot. But because of the many combinations, the different ways to interpret the Lenormand card, it's quite difficult to master. And this is my last deck, second Lenormand deck. This is the 7th Sphere Lenormand. And again, this is from labyrinthos.co. And it is very vector based. They are gorgeous. They look modern. And so let me just show you. Okay, so we have the men and women earlier. Here we have the term animus and anima. So this is, I think these are terms from Carl Jung, if I remember it correctly. The feminine and masculine energies of our soul. And because it kind of eliminates the need to have an extra man and woman card. If you're just talking about masculine and feminine energies, not necessarily restricted to gender, then this deck has, solved that for you. So we have bear, clover, so it's really colorful, really gorgeous without sacrificing a lot of the imagery. It's still, if it's a whip, you still see a whip. If it's a garden, you still see a garden. You see the rose gold finish on the back. It's made of plastic. And again, it's from labyrinthos.co. They will never disappoint. They've put in a lot of effort in their decks. And these are premium decks, in my opinion, like honestly. They have a lot of decks. As you can see, I have a lot of their decks. A Lenormand, an Oracle, 2 tarot decks from them. So it's a testament to the quality of goods that they deliver. So it's not sponsored by labyrinthos.co, but shout out to labyrinthos.co if you guys want. So that's it for my collection. I'm still planning to grow my collection. In fact, I am waiting on 1 tarot deck and I'm ordering 2 more. And I am planning to grow my Oracle deck as well, because I understand some people, especially millennials, they want intuitive readings. So I'm planning to increase my Oracle deck collection. I'm waiting for 1, actually. So I might update my collection before the year ends, but where we are standing right now, those are the decks that I have. And as a bonus for you guys, I am giving away this extra Carolyn Miss archetype cards. So you don't need prior knowledge to tarot, since this is an oracle deck. You don't need to have any psychic gifts whatsoever. I believe mine are still sleeping. I need to awaken those gifts, but this is very helpful. You don't need prior knowledge to it. You just need, have an open mind. Out of all the decks that I have, this deck kind of straddles the line between the occult and the scientific. So if you're that kind of person like me, you will enjoy using this deck. So just, if you haven't yet, just like the video, subscribe to our channel, hit the bell notification. And if I were you, for you to qualify for this, just share this video to your Facebook. Just tag the Random Burrito channel. We do have an FB page. Make the post public so we can see it. And, you can caption in your post, what archetype do you think you are? Alright? And that qualifies for 1 entry. And after 2 weeks from posting this video, we will do an electronic raffle to find out who would win this deck. And we'll contact you in your social media to find out how we can deliver it to you. Okay? So that's it for us, for me today. Thank you. Love and light to you, my dears. And it's a wrap. Ciao.